guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock on a Thursday and it's time for another video. And today I want to talk to you about my online streaming platform, the Netrix. Now the Netrix has been going for I think about 3 years now, and my goal when I set it up was to create the #1 streaming platform in Magic, and I really do believe that if we're not already there, we're very, very close. I don't think that there's any streaming platform that uploads as much new content on a regular basis ever since we started. And we launched with 100 individual tricks. When we launched, every 2 weeks we add 5 new routines to the Netrix, and we've done that ever since we started, which means there's now hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tricks on the Netrix. And as well as all of those different tricks, there's business advice, there's a whole bunch of different stuff. So there's 3 levels: bronze, silver and gold. Gold has been oversubscribed since day 1, so it's very, very difficult to get into gold. That's where you have personal one-on-one sessions with me every couple of weeks. But with bronze, it's all about the tricks. So you get access to a metric ton of tricks. I think we've got like maybe 500 or 600 tricks on the Netrix. We keep adding tricks to it. So every 2 weeks we add another 5 routines, and they're in lots of different categories. There's kids tricks, there's stage routines, there's close-up magic, there's mentalism. It's not just taught by me. I have some incredible mentors on the Netrix, people like Justin Miller, people like Michael O'Brien, people like Rich Relish, people like Kyle Purnell, Christian Grace, Ollie Mealing, Steve Della, the list goes on and on and on. Some absolutely incredible people, and everything is searchable and everything is downloadable. So you can download anything off the Netrix that you want to. You can search for anything that you want. And you've got lots of different categories, so you can search by difficulty rating, you can search by the type of magic you want to learn, search words. There's a whole bunch of different ways to search. And every single trick has its own landing page. It's got a trailer, it's got a breakdown of what the trick is, it's got a description. Then when you go into it, it breaks it down. It's a little bit like Netrix. If you're launching off one device and you get halfway through, it'll save your progress. It'll go into your system so you can start exactly where you finished off. Anyway, silver level is all about sort of business advice. There's a ton of business advice in there. And as well as the business advice, we have these things called VMCs, which are virtual magic clubs. So every week there's a VMC with me, and sometimes I'll have an expert on with me, like I've had people like John Morton in the past. I've had people like Carl Purnell in the past. I've had people like just some Joel Dickinson is somebody else that we've had on there. Some amazing people delivering masterclasses, but a lot of the time it's me, and every VMC has a different subject. Sometimes it's a Q&A, a live Q&A with me. Sometimes it's taking a deep dive into a particular type of trick, like we've just recently done a deep dive into Stay Stack, which was super fun. And sometimes it's business advice. And a lot of people ask me, should I go for bronze level or silver level when I join the Netrix? And I always say it's up to you. You can't get gold. A lot of people want to have one-to-ones with me. You can't get gold at the moment. But the nearest way of getting gold is doing the silver, because at least with silver, every week you've got a VMC with me where I hang out with everybody. They're meant to run an hour. Normally they run about an hour and a half or 2 hours, if not longer, to be perfectly honest. And I think the VMCs are amazing. But to give you a bit of a kind of a peek behind the curtains of the Netrix, what this video is all about is it's all about showing you a live, uncut VMC from the Netrix. And this is one that took place last week. It's all about creative ways of getting more gigs. So it's one of the business VMCs, and it's all about creative ways of getting more gigs. So if you want to get gigs, if you're just starting off and you need gigs, or you're a professional and you want more gigs, there's lots of different ways of doing it. But I presented on this VMC a lot of different ways of actually doing that in a creative way that doesn't involve spending money. And you'll see when you watch this, there's a lot of, it's not just me talking for a couple of hours, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of back and forth between all the different members of the Netrix. And that's what I love. The Netrix is a community, and I'm really proud of what I built. So I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek behind the curtain of the Netrix and show you what happens when you actually come in on the silver level and you get access to the VMCs. So here it is. This is a live, unedited VMC recording. Because the other thing I should point out to you is when you do join the Netrix, you get access to every VMC from the very first one. They're all recorded and they're all put into the archive, so you can go back and watch all the VMCs if you want to, which is insane. But I'm not going to say any more. This is a sneak behind the curtain of the Netrix. You're going to have a look at a VMC and see exactly what it looks like if you're a silver level of the Netrix member. I'm going to talk to you about getting more gigs, but I'm going to talk to you about getting more gigs. Kind of the title of this VMC is Creative Ways of Getting More Gigs. And what I mean by creative ways of getting more gigs is how to, and by the way, as I'm doing this, if anybody's got any question, put your hand up, because, you know, this is the sort of thing where I like to have feedback from. But when I talk about creative ways, I'm talking about not really spending money or spending minimal money, spending minimal amount of money. Because I work with a lot of people in gold membership, and I work with a lot of people. I work with a lot of companies that aren't even in Magic from a business development point of view, and a lot of startups, a lot of people that are first getting into running a business, whether it be a Magic or something else. They've got a very limited budget, and it would be very easy to say, it's super easy to get gigs. All you have to do is spend a few £1,000s on a really good website, hire a social media team that will post for you consistently every single day, and then spend a fortune on Google AdWords, PPC, and SEO. And if you do that in 6 months' time,
to another episode.
Oh, what was that? In about 6 months' time, you're going to have a ton of work, and that is one way to do it. If you wanted to get a lot of gigs very, very quickly, like our bill on our SEO is ridiculous. We probably pay between Non-Stop Kids and Slightly Unusual, I think we pay about £3.5 grand a month. So every month we pay £3.5 grand to a company, an amazing company, that just makes sure that we're number one for all of our search terms organically. And then we probably pay about another £5,000 or £6,000 on PPC, so that when somebody searches for us, we're number one organically, and we're number one on adverts as well. That's great. But it took us years and years and years to get to the level where we knew that by spending that money, we would have the amount of gigs that would bring in and turnover that would allow us to spend that money, if that kind of makes sense. There's no point in spending that money if it's not going to result in a certain amount of turnover, because we've got lots of entertainers and we do lots of gigs. We have the turnover there. So when you first start, that's really not a thing. You can do SEO yourself. You can maybe do a small PPC ad campaign. You can constantly be working on your website. I've talked here in the past, you can be working on blogs and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, the purpose of this VMC is to talk about what you can do to get gigs like sooner rather than later without spending that money on SEO and PPC, because every business starts somewhere. And when I first started in business, I didn't have the marketing budget that I have now. So I had to look for other ways of getting work. So I'm going to share some with you. Some of them you might be doing, some of them you might not be doing. But all of these things that I'm going to suggest to you have worked for me in one way or another. And they will work for you. And all of them aren't going to cost that much money. And I've got a list. I've been very, very organized. So I'm looking down at this list. So the first one, and this is kind of, I've talked about this before, but I don't think many people do it properly. And I'll be honest with you, when I first set up my business, I think the thing that took me to the next level was doing this first thing, which is why I want to talk about it first of all. And that's networking, business networking. Now, honestly, be honest, does anybody regularly do business networking here to get gigs? I know William does. We've talked about it. Does anybody else? Here's the thing, right? You don't see many magicians do business networking because they don't see the point of it. Because a lot of people, they think of networking as, oh, well, you're going to have accountants and lawyers and solicitors in the room, and how are they going to help a magician get more gigs, right? I'm telling you right now, when I first started in business, I didn't have much money at all. And I joined a networking organization. I joined a company called BNI, which stands for Business Networking International. They're literally all over the world. And I got so much work from BNI. I got so much work. It didn't happen straight away. It's one of those things that you have to take a little bit of time over. But I got so much work from BNI. It was like having my own personal sales force that were out there 24/7 looking for gigs for me. It was amazing. And uh, the biggest contract that I've got, so the biggest contract that my company holds is with Drayton Manor. And if you're not in the UK and you don't know what Drayton Manor is the second biggest theme park in the UK. It's huge, it's massive, everybody knows what it is. I got the contract with BNI, with Drayton Manor. We do, I think, about 500 shows a year. The reason I got that contract is because of a networking event. Going to a networking, going to BNI, and connecting with somebody who then connected me to the people at Drayton Manor, and that led to me getting a meeting with them, which ultimately led to me getting the gig. So I'm telling you right now, networking works. Now, I could spend an entire VMC just on networking. I don't want to make this all about networking, and I'll maybe do another one. If you guys want me to talk more about networking in depth, I can do that in a future one. But what I'll briefly say to you is there's two types of networking events. You've got free networking, and then you've got paid networking. I'll be honest with you, free networking events aren't really that useful, because the problem with free networking events is it just attracts people that don't want to spend money on building their business. You've got a bunch of people in a room that don't want to spend any money. And so what happens is everybody in that room is just trying to talk about themselves. They don't care about you. They care about what you can do for them. And that's the wrong attitude when it comes to networking. So if you see online, hey, come to our networking event, it's free. It's probably not worth it. It's going to waste your time. I've been to a few of them. It's not worth it. What is worth it is going to a paid networking organization where you pay a certain amount to be a member for a year, and you go every week and you see the same people every single week. In the UK, we've got places like BNI. For Networking is another one. Some of you might have heard of For Networking. It's Brad Burton founded that company. They're great because you're going and seeing the same people every single week, which is important. Here's the big misconception about networking. People think that with networking, you need to see lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of different people, but it's not about that. It's seeing the same people every single week, because networking is all about getting to know people, getting to like people, and getting to trust people. It's called know, like, trust. The whole point of networking is you have to meet up with business owners. Here's the thing, right? If I walked into a room and I spoke to a solicitor and I was like, hey, I'm a magician. I do events at corporate events. I'm looking for somebody to hire me for corporate events. Now, that solicitor might be organizing an event. They might be organizing a corporate event, right? And they might think, well, I need a magician. But why would they speak to me? Why would they give that business to me? They've never met me before. They don't know who I am. Why would they give me that business? They wouldn't. And that's what happens at a free networking event. They don't know you. They don't know who you are. They don't know if you're reliable. They're definitely not going to put you into a situation where you're going to be looking after all of their clients or whatever it may be. So, but by going to a networking event where you meet people every single day, or every single week, sorry, you get to meet them on a regular basis. You get to know them. They get to like you, and then over a period of time, they get to trust you, right? That's why going on a regular basis is so important. And the other two things I'll say about networking, and if you want to do another one of these and you want to do it just about networking, that's fine. But I'll tell you two things about networking. The first thing is it's really important when you go to a networking organization that you understand the concept of givers gain, which is something that BNI came up with. Givers gain means if I give you business, you are going to want to give me business. So the thing that makes networking work is if I can give referrals to the people that are in the room. So, for example, if there's an event, I don't know, let's say there's a florist in the room and I've got a wedding client, and I say, hey, I've got these people that I'm doing a wedding for. They told me last week they were looking to get their flowers sorted for their wedding. Would you like me to make a connection for you and put you in touch? That's you giving people a referral. if you focus on, if you focus when you're networking on helping other people, then what's going to happen is they're going to want to help you. Because if you're constantly giving work to other people in that room, they're going to think, well, if I don't give him something, he's going to stop giving me work. It's called giver's gain, right? So one of the best ways to make networking work for you is by really trying to help everybody else, which is why something like BNI is referral based. And the other thing that I'll tell you, and this is the single most important thing that you will understand, is that when you're networking, do not judge a book by its cover. And that's the biggest problem that people have. I said that my biggest contract came as a result of going to a networking organization. It did. It came as a result of speaking to a cleaner. Now, a cleaner, I could very easily have gone into that room and gone, well, it's a cleaning company. How can they help me? They don't need a magician. But when I spoke to that cleaning company, they had their sister or their brother or something. It was so long ago, I can't remember. But their relative was the person who was organizing entertainment for Drayton Manor, and they would just got rid of the company that they were using and they wanted to speak to another company. But if I'd have made that decision of not going to that, not going up to that person because I don't think a cleaner can help me, I would have ended up losing out on that contract. It's not about who they are, it's about who they know. It's about who they can connect you with. Very quick story, then we'll move on. I was at many years ago, I ran a property company called Quick Move, a real estate company. And my client, while I was doing Slightly Unusual and Non-Stop Kids, I set up a real estate company. And I set it up, and my clients were landlords. And this guy came in to this networking organization I was in, and he was an arse. He really was. And he came in, he'd never networked before, and he was looking to be connected to landlords. And a lady called Michelle, who's an incredible networker, she was running the meeting. She said, what are you looking for? And he said, I want to be connected to landlords. And she went, oh, come with me. And she said, hey, I want to introduce you to this guy. This is Craig. Craig's a fantastic person, been networking for a while. He's a magician. And before she could say anything else, he turned around to me, rude arsehole, turned around to me and he said, I don't like magic. I don't like magicians. I don't think a magician can help me. I want to be connected to a landlord. Can you please point me in the direction of somebody who matters? I had 250 landlords that are my clients at that point, and I could literally have opened my books up to him. Did I? No. Why? Because he was a knob. And that's the biggest piece of advice I can give you. Don't be a knob. Don't judge a book by its cover. And also, network, the relationships that you meet in networking will last forever. So I'll mention one more thing. I haven't been networking since about 2017. The reason I haven't isn't because networking doesn't work, but it was around about 2017 that my company went national. Networking works better when you're local, right? Because you have to spend a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours a week doing it, and it can lead to 5 or 6 leads. But in all honesty, we get about 200 leads a day. It's not worth me doing networking now because I'm operating on a bigger scale. But the relationships that I built over years are still there. I had somebody ring me up yesterday and say to me they're holding a big, massive corporate event in London at the O2, and they want an illusion act, and they want somebody to come in and really give the wow factor to 1,000 people in the room. And I was the person that they wanted at that event. They hadn't spoken to me for about 5 years, but because I'd spent years building up a relationship with them, the first thought that they had when they thought of needing a person for this event was my company. So you never know, it's the long game with networking. It's not about what you can get immediately. It's what these relationships will bring in for you. You'll spend very little money on networking, but honestly, I got my business to a point where it went national as a result of networking. So I don't want to say any more about it. If you want to do a bigger thing on networking next month or the month after, I'm happy. I could spend an hour talking about networking. I can even get people like Doug Dorbury or Michelle Ibbs who are like experts in networking. I could probably get them to come in and do a masterclass with you. I'm more than happy to do that. But I want to move on because we have got a couple of questions. So Andreas, you have a question.
Yeah. Well, maybe a couple of questions and or comments. I don't know. First of all, the type of networking you're talking about is really wide and open networking. So it's not magician related. You're not networking within the community. You are networking within an area. So
Business
it's
networking,
open
you're
to
going to,
everyone,
yeah,
everyone.
you're going to business networking events because the people who are going to give you work aren't magicians, it's other business owners.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm talking about networking away from magic.
Yeah, technically, I think you mentioned that once, and this again, this give us gain.
Give us gain, yeah.
When you talk to magicians, you can, well, lend a hand here and there, and vice versa again, as well. But so now we are talking about everyone. These types of paid networkings, how do I identify them? And how do they present themselves? Do you need a monthly fee, a subscription, or
All of them
a
are
fee for
different.
per visit? Or
All of them are different. All of them work on a different basis. The best thing to do is Google business networking and the area in which you're in, and you will see lots and lots of networking events. BNI, which is the one I was in BNI and for networking. BNI, you pay about £700 a year, and they can split it over the year, and then that covers you the whole year, and you have 52 meetings. I think for networking was a very small amount. It was like £100, but you pay per meeting you go to. And for networking had meetings like every day in different areas, breakfast, lunch, and evening meetings. So you could literally just pick and choose the ones you wanted to. So there was a fee per event, if that makes sense. These days, you also have virtual networking where you can network online virtually. But the best thing to do is to just Google business networking in your area, and you'll see lots of links of lots of places.
yeah, great. Thank you.
Hey, no problem.
Thank you.
Yes, Chris.
So I can't believe I'm listening to you talk about networking, having used it for the first 5 years of my sales career here in the States. It's just so stupid. It was, for anybody even now wondering about it, if you don't do it, it's not a smart move. It is a brilliant way to get out there. I was in copier sales. I sold office equipment, was my first sales job outside of restaurant working and all this stuff. The first year I joined a networking group, I remember it because we had to give presentations on it. 25% of my business came from networking leads. And that was me as a raw rookie with nobody to give as a lead yet. So you go there and maybe you feel a little embarrassed because you can't knock something out in the first week or two. Don't be embarrassed, because as you get business in your regular job, right, or even in the magic community, you'll start growing those circles of influence. Second year was 50%. The third year was almost 75% of my business. And I was part of a group here in the United States called Power Core. I don't even know if it exists anymore. I know BNI does. But we were allowed to give 15-minute presentations a couple times a year. So, and tell them, and your point about you do not need to know 500 people, you need about 30 people that are talking about you and thinking about you every time they're meeting with friends, family, business constituents. It's amazing how fast it can spread like wildfire and bring business back into the house. And I hadn't even thought about that in forever. And here we are. I'm like, why did I not think about that? Because if I got, and you're right though, the fail safe on it is that it is local. And as soon as you go national, which is what my thing was, once I got out of local copier sales, I stopped networking because I was doing national positions and it couldn't help me anymore.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely a no-brainer to go in there. And the neat part, at least in the one I was in, I'm not sure about BNI, your seat amongst that table, your position of what you do as a job is reserved.
Yeah, no one else can come in as a magician.
Right.
No,
Once you get to the table as the magician, there are no other magicians to get in that circle. And the neat part is that you can also go and substitute for other people at other meetings.
Yeah.
And as long as they don't have a conflicting person, you can present there as well. So you could literally pay for one and give substitute meetings 4 other days a week, only paying one membership fee, but you now have 150 people looking for you. So just a couple things about networking. It's absolutely a no-brainer. If they're near you, go sign up, pay them, whatever, because you'll get your money back in the first couple of gigs for the year.
And the cool thing is, magicians don't do it. They don't see the value in it.
Absolutely do not. Never saw one. Never.
Nope. Which means that you stand out. And the other thing is, one of the things about networking organizations, there's a big thing about them getting what they want to get referrals for their members. It's so easy to get a referral for a magician because the amount of people that you speak to that are either having an event, getting married, having a private party, having a birthday party, whatever, you will find it so easy to get referrals. You really will. So yeah, 100%, Chris, 100%. Rich, you got a question?
Yeah, hi Greg. I was just going to ask about performance. Do you ever perform at these events, or is it strictly business? And if you do perform, do you perform to everybody like a walk around, or is it just on request?
So normally with these networking meetings, what happens is they normally run for about 2 hours. And it varies from business meeting to business meeting. But a lot of the time at the beginning, you have like 20 to 30 minutes of open networking, which is where you're kind of chatting to each other and you're building relationships and so on and so forth. Then you normally go and sit down and have a breakfast or something if it's a breakfast meeting, and everybody gives us 60 seconds. So what I mean by 60 seconds is you stand up and you have 60 seconds to tell all of the visitors and everybody in the room what your about your business, and you want to keep it quick and snappy, and you want to be very specific. So you want to tell people what it is that you're looking for, because then they can find those correct referrals for you. Now, it's been about 7 years since I did the 60 seconds. But my 60 seconds varied every week, but it'd be something like this. Hey guys, my name's Craig and I run a company called Slightly Unusual. We're called the Comedy Illusionists, and we go into events like weddings, corporates, private parties, and we add the wow factor. How do we do that? Well, we provide magic. We bring magicians into the event, and it can be anything from close-up magic through to big grand illusion shows. Honestly, whatever the client's looking for, we can kind of supply it for them, and we're very, very good at what we do. Now, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for referrals for specifically corporate events. There's a lot of people that are planning corporate events at the moment, and they're normally looking for some sort of real wow factor to give their clients to really make sure that event's a success. So if you know any clients that are planning at a corporate event and they want something that's really going to have an impact on them, then I would love to be connected to event planners. I'd like to be connected to anybody that's planning an event. So there you go. That's my name's Craig from Slightly Unusual, the Comedy Illusionists. And that's kind of a rough 60 seconds. You keep it quick, you keep it snappy, you let people know what you're looking for. Then after that...
I'll buy it. I'll buy it.
Thank you very much. After that, normally one of the members will do a 15-minute presentation. And that 15-minute presentation, it rotates around the various different members. And then after that, there's more open networking until whenever everybody goes, right? So whenever I did my open networking, whenever I did my 15-minute presentation, I'd always do it. There's normally about 40 people in the room. I'd always do a 15-minute parlor show, because I found the best way to get people to understand what I do is by doing a performance for all of them. So my 15 minutes was always, hey, my name's Craig. I just want to kind of show you the sort of thing that I can do. So we're going to do a magic show. This is going to be super fun. And I do a show for 15 minutes that would blow them away. Outside of that, unless I was asked, I wouldn't do magic, because it was more important to me to build up those relationships. So I didn't want to be the guy that comes in and goes, hey, my name's Craig, I'm a magician, can I show you a trick? Because it's like 6:30 in the morning and it's kind of like, you want to do what now? So a lot of the time it was kind of more me finding out about their businesses, and there wasn't really much talk of magic. And well, other than me telling them the sort of thing that I do when I found out what they do. The networking afterwards, you'd normally have like one-to-ones where you'd sit down with somebody for half an hour and find out more about their business. That's when I would do some magic for them. And I wouldn't do much. I'd do one high impact thing, one thing that I probably wouldn't have seen anyone else do, something that's kind of unique to me. But the emphasis is never on the magic. If you go in there and you kind of a move monkey and that's not what they're looking for. It's about building up relationships. Yes, you want to let them know that you do magic, but you want to kind of have that. It's like if there was a plumber in the room, he wouldn't be taking everyone into the toilet to show them how to plunge the sink. You know, a bank manager wouldn't be opening up a laptop and saying, right, let's come over here. I'm going to show you how to transfer some money now. You know, a florist wouldn't be going, right, let's do some flower arranging, shall we? They tell you about the business. So I kind of took that approach. That makes sense? Hopefully. Yeah, good. Right, I think that's all the questions. By the way, would you like a big one of these in a month or two on networking, and I can really go in depth on it and probably invite somebody to, right, okay, we'll do that now, no problem. But let's move on. Okay, so the next thing that I've got here, and I started doing that, and I don't really talk about this online, and it's killer. And I started doing this, and I actually registered a couple of domain names for this as well. I started doing this in lockdown, because in lockdown, I was doing virtual events, virtual parties. I couldn't go out and actually gig, and I was looking for other things to do. And I started offering social media videos for small to medium-sized businesses, because we all know more than ever before the importance of social media, right? It's so important for people to put content out and constantly be putting content out. If you're a business owner and your social media is dead, it means that you haven't got a digital footprint. If you haven't got a digital footprint, it means that when people research into you and they look into what you do, they're not going to be very impressed. You know, if somebody's looking for a realtor, for example, and there's two realtors they find, and one realtor has a website and they've got social media videos going up all the time talking about different houses they're renting out or whatever, and then they've got another realtor who's got no social media presence at all and has an Instagram page that hasn't been updated in 3 years. When you're doing that research, regardless of which one is actually best, you make a judgment that the one that's got the social media following is the best one, right? It's why social media is so important. Ryland gets so many inquiries just through his social media, and we don't even push him. And he just gets constantly people wanting to book him just because of his social media, right? Now, the problem is when you're a small to medium-sized business, especially a startup, you're normally working on your own, or you have a very small team. You definitely don't have a marketing budget. You definitely don't have a marketing team around you, but you understand the importance of marketing. Now, the big companies, the large companies, they do have a marketing budget. They can go out and they can hire, like a marketing company to put together a 30-second video, but a lot of small to medium-sized businesses can't. So what I started doing in lockdown is I started offering a service where somebody could tell me about their product or their service, and I would create a 30-second to 60-second video promoting their product or service through the use of doing magic. And we've done over 250 of these in the last year, and you guys probably don't even realize it's us, because it's through a completely separate company that's got nothing to do with Slightly Unusual, Nonstop Kids, Magic TV. It's through a completely separate thing. But this is a really cool thing to do for a couple of different reasons. One, it doesn't cost you anything, and it's actually a fun thing to do from a creativity point of view. If you speak to a company and they go, right, we've got a spoon and we want to advertise this spoon. They have no idea how they want to do it. They know they need a social media video, but they don't really know how to do it. They don't really know what they want to do with that spoon. It's a really fun, creative thing to come up with ideas for them and say, well, you know what, let me do this, and you shoot them a video. And as long as you can shoot this stuff on an iPhone now. You don't need a really good studio setup. You just need somebody who will hold a camera, and you can do it and make it look really good. And with basic video editing, it doesn't take. I taught myself video editing. I taught myself how to use Final Cut Pro. I taught myself video editing, but it's a very useful thing to do, because you can charge, a company, a small to medium-sized business will pay anything from £100 to £500 for something like this, which you could put together if you are like, there's one that we charged £300 for it, and we literally turned it around in 40 minutes. It just came in. I was like, right, I know what I'm going to do with that. I shot the video, sent it back to them. Thank you very much. But I can't tell you the amount of gigs that we've had as a result of doing these videos, because these small to medium-sized businesses, they're probably planning, depending on the industry they're in, they're probably going to be planning events, or they're probably going to be doing something that's going to require a magician down the line. Well, who do you think they'll use? Do you think they'll just Google and find somebody random? Or do you think they'll use the person who put together a really cool video that's really helped push their trajectory of their social media up to another level? Do you know what I mean? So offering something like this, it makes you look really good if you have it on your website. Hey, we can custom create social media videos for corporate, for corporate clients to help enhance your social media presence and help develop your brand identity, all those buzzwords and stuff like that. You can put something like that on your website. Now think about that. If somebody's looking for a magician and they land on a website and there's a guy saying, hey, I'm really good at magic and I do corporate events, here's some pictures of me doing corporate events. And then you've got somebody else that does the same thing, but then they go, oh, and by the way, we also do these for companies and we do these, and there's a few examples of them on the page. They're more likely to go for that company because it also makes your brand look bigger. It makes you look like a bigger deal in the corporate landscape because you're offering all of these services that other magicians aren't. Sometimes it's just about the perception of the client when they're looking at you. Now, what I mean by that is, it was weird for me when I started doing, so many years ago, I started doing illusion shows. And as soon as I started offering illusion shows, clients treated us with more respect. It was really weird. But as soon, like, how many times have you had this? Because I've had this lots, where you turn up to a gig to do a close-up gig and you go, oh, where can you change? And they point you in the direction of the disabled toilet. Like, it's just a thing, right? Because they have no respect. You are there as a box ticking exercise. Okay, we need a magician for this event. Check. Okay. When I go there with an illusion show, when they've booked me to go and do an illusion show and I'm there as an illusion act, we've got a green room, we've got dinner prepared for us, we've got a person who we can call to get anything that we need. They look at us as a far bigger deal, which is weird because we're the same people, but it's perception versus reality. And we're perceived as a bigger deal. So when people go on the slightly unusual websites and they see big illusions and this and that and the other, even if they're not booking an illusion show, we look like a bigger deal because we offer that, right? And it's the same with this. If you offer this service and you have it on your website, you're going to look like a bigger deal. It's as simple as that. So then the question becomes, where do you get this work? Well, the best way to get this work is through networking, because guess what? All of those people that you're networking with, they're small to medium-sized businesses. There's probably a lot of them in the room that if you said they're all struggling with the same thing, they all know that social media is important and they're not doing it. One of the most profitable businesses to have when you are in business networking is a marketing agency, a digital marketing agency, because most small to medium-sized business owners have no fucking clue about digital marketing. They know they need to do digital marketing. They know they need to do social media. They have no fucking clue how to do it. So when you are a networking organization and you're a digital marketing company, they're going to immediately stand out over everyone else. And because everybody in that room wants their services. My marketing company that I use, they're called OMS. I did an interview with David Kahn on Magic TV a while ago. Do you remember that? And some of you might remember an interview I did with David Kahn. He's the guy I spend a lot of money with. Guess what? I've been working with David I went to David after my business partner left, so 2017. So I've 16. So for something like 8 years, I've been working with David Kahn. Guess where I found out about David Kahn? Correct. A networking event. And we've been working with each other ever since. So when you go into a networking organization and you say, hey, I do these videos, it's going to really help your social media. It's going to help you stand out against your competition. Do you think people are going to be interested? Hell yeah, they're going to be interested. It's something that they've not heard any other magician talk about. But then the other thing that you can do is and again, we could probably spend an entire video talking about what I'm about to say now, but you can do virtual networking. What I mean by virtual networking is LinkedIn. You can go onto LinkedIn. And if you're not on LinkedIn, you should be. I look at LinkedIn as virtual networking. I don't post on there anywhere near as much as I used to. I used to have a premium account. I used to post on there all the time. These days, less for a variety of different reasons. For the same reasons, really, that I'm not doing networking. I'm just too busy doing everything else, and we don't have a problem getting work. But I used to spend so much time doing virtual networking. LinkedIn is like networking, but virtually. You can connect with people on there. You can send them messages. You can ask for people's referrals. You can ask for people to recommend you. So if you are, and I think the two of them go hand in hand. So if you're offering something like this, where you're doing sort of custom videos for businesses, if you promote it on LinkedIn, you tell people about it on LinkedIn, and you reach out to your contacts on LinkedIn and ask them to promote it for you on your behalf, they will do that absolutely 100%. And I guarantee you it will lead to more work. There's a lot of advantages of both virtual networking and creating these sort of bespoke social media videos for businesses. And if you're not doing it, you really should consider it, because it's a really cool idea to get more work. But again, we can talk about virtual networking again in the future. Next one. Oh, hang on. We got Brandon's raised his hand. Yes, Brandon.
That's a really cool idea. And I think you could also even use it in the negotiation process. Like if you find yourself in a position where you're haggling on the fee or something like that, and they're like, oh, I just can't do it. You say, well, here, to help you justify this cost, why don't you pay my rate and I can throw in this video for you?
That's
It
great.
takes 20 minutes out of your day, and that might be able to help you close to close a deal for doesn't take any of your time, doesn't cost you anything.
That's
If you
great.
find yourself if you're really haggling on price, or it's something you can give up. It can be because you should never negotiate and just lower your price. You always need to take something away. So you can say, normally I do offer these videos, and normally you would get that, but you can just say, what if we just took that out? You know, that'll save me some time, and I'll be able to knock off 250 bucks off of the rate of the show. So you can use it in both of those ways to help you
That's
get your
brilliant.
regular rate
Absolutely.
anyway.
Absolutely brilliant. 100%. I've never even thought of that myself. That's an awesome idea. Yes. And it makes sense that Brandon would think about that, because you spend a lot of your time negotiating with your job, and yeah, that's super smart. Super smart. Jeremy.
Have to find the mute button here. Yeah, no, so you and I talked about networking quite a bit, and I have some BNI stuff which I want to talk to you about, looking at these groups, which one's the best one to join. But the other thing I'm going to do as well for networking is get back into Toastmasters here locally, because they have a lot of conferences and it gets big. So for the speaking piece and the pickpocket act and some of the stuff, it's a great way to get in front of people. Yeah. And then those people have link up with other conferences. And I think that's going to be, I used to be a part of it. And then I hadn't done it because I went to school and did some other stuff for a while. But I think just listening to you about this networking piece, I want to throw that back on there. And I think between the two of those and going to those conferences and the BNI stuff and all that, I think for the style that I want to offer, I think it'll be good. But if you have any ideas or tips about that kind of stuff, or how to choose a BNI group to be a part of, we can I definitely would love to hear that.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that on the next one-to-one as well. Yeah, absolutely. And I can talk about that in a future VMC for you guys as well, if you'd like me to. Like, we can talk about how to pick the right networking organization and which one's the right one to go for, because there's free trials with these places. You can turn up twice before you make a commitment, and you don't want to just say yes to the first one. There's a few things that you want to take into consideration, both in terms of which company to go for, which chapter to go for. We call them chapters. Which chapter to go for, and it's very much based, although I say that it doesn't matter in terms of who they are and what they do. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But if you're going to pick a chapter, you may as well pick a chapter with as many allied sort of businesses as you can. And what I mean by that is, if there's a chapter that's got an event planner, a venue, a hotel, a restaurant, a photographer. Photographers are freaking amazing. I've had so much work from photographers because they get booked at the same events that will book me, and they normally get booked before me. And they'll normally have built a relationship up with the clients, and will, it's perfect. If you've got a chapter where you've got people like that in, and there's no magician, that's the chapter you want to go for, because then one referral could be handed to everybody. If somebody's got like a corporate event that's being planned, it can go to the event planner, it can go to the magician, it can go to the photographer. You know, it's so there's a lot of factors to take into consideration. We can talk about that. No problem. That cool. But okay, I want to talk about another one now. So this is kind of an interesting thing, and this is something that I started doing in lockdown, and we've carried on doing it ever since. So in lockdown, my company Nonstop Kids was probably one of the very first companies to kind of jump on the virtual parties bandwagon. So if you remember, over here in the UK, we got officially locked down on the 20th or the 22nd or the 20th of March 2020. The next day, we had 5 virtual parties booked in. So virtual parties was a big deal for us. And I think in our when we were like, everybody was locked down and we weren't able to leave the house, we were doing probably the most we did is about 100 virtual parties in one day. Like, we were doing a metric ton of these things. But I had an idea when it was locked down. And the idea was very, very simple, and it worked really, really well. And it came about as a result of me thinking about the fact that because everyone's locked down, no one can leave the house, right? And because no one can leave the house, no one can go to hospitals. And no one could go and see each other. We weren't even allowed to congregate. And I remember thinking, well, what about the kids that are in palliative care? What about the kids that are in a hospital bed and they're really ill, but they can't have their family come and visit them? That must be a really horrible situation for those kids that are in palliative care. So I did some research. I started researching into it, and there were like loads of kids, hundreds of them around the whole of the UK, that were really upset because they're in palliative care or they're in hospitals and they hadn't seen their parents, and it was horrible. And I remember thinking, well, we've got this setup to be able to do virtual parties. Why don't we do one-on-one sessions with the kids in the hospitals and the kids in palliative care? If they've got an iPad, we could do like a half-an-hour performance for them, one-on-one, and do magic for them and teach them some simple magic tricks, and that'd be really cool. But the problem is, we were hemorrhaging money as it was. We had no money because we couldn't do events, and we couldn't ask our entertainers to do it for free for us. We had to pay them, but we had no money to pay them. And I was like, oh, it's a great idea. I don't see how we're going to be able to pull it off. And then Sarah said, well, we've been in business for a long time. There are going to be companies out there that we've worked with that are actually flourishing in lockdown. Energy companies are probably flourishing. Telecommunications companies are flourishing. There are companies out there that are probably doing better now than ever before. So I went through my, let's go old school here. I went through my Rolodex. I went through all of my clients, and I went and checked, and we had lots of corporate clients that I thought they're in categories where I reckon they're doing okay. So I reached out to them and I said to them, hey, we want to start doing virtual parties for kids in palliative care and in hospitals, but we haven't got the money. This is a really nice thing to do. We're going to PR the shit out of this. We're going to be contacting press. We're going to be contacting radio. We're going to be contacting everybody about this initiative that we're planning. Would you like to sponsor us for 20 parties a month, which will cover our fee as a company, and it will cover the entertainer's fee? And we had like 6 or 7 companies that were more than happy to come in and sponsor us every single month to run these virtual parties. And from our point of view, it was great because we were bringing money into the company. We were giving gigs to entertainers who couldn't leave the house. But more importantly, we were like giving really these kids that couldn't go out and couldn't do anything. We were like really brightening up their day. It was like an absolute win-win. And off the back of it, we got onto the local radio. We got onto TV stations. We got onto so much press. talking about what we were doing. It was fantastic. And we actually got clients as a result of doing this as well. There were companies, we put it on LinkedIn and we did a LinkedIn thing. And we had loads of companies that were coming to us and saying, hey, we've heard you doing this. Can we get involved? Octopus Energy. You might have heard of Octopus Energy over here in the UK. We never worked with them at all. Big energy company. They contacted us and they had us doing, they sponsored us to do a load of these events outside of, but then off the back of that, they were having us do like 4 or 5 events for their kids of their staff at their homes, just as like a nice thing. Like it was amazing. And since then, we've carried on doing this, but with live events. And this is what I'm bringing up now. This is where I'm getting to. I just wanted to kind of give you the starting point to this. So we now, so with charity events, everybody hates getting that phone call, doesn't it? Charities. Oh yeah, me and Sarah are great together. Occasionally when we're not arguing. But when so everyone hates getting charity inquiries. Oh, it's a charity. They're just going to want a freebie, right? It happens. It does happen. First of all, a lot of the time when a charity is inquiring, they do have a budget. So just because it's a charity inquiring doesn't mean that they don't want to pay for it. But if we get to a point where charities inquire and they don't want to pay for it, we ask them what the charity is. And if they go, we've got no budget, but we want this. We go, okay, no problem. You got no budget. That's cool. What we're going to do is we're going to, do you have your registered charity number? You do? Brilliant. Give it to us. And we send an email out to all of our corporate clients and we say, hey, we've just been approached by this charity. This is their charity registration number. This is their URL. They are planning this event on this date. They have no budget at all. And they really want to try and raise as much money as they can for this. And they need help. And in return, they are going to be doing this and this and this. And I asked them all the different things they're using to publicize this and what they're going to do and what they're going to do. And I say, look, if you can sponsor this event, first of all, it's an official registered charity, so it's a tax write-off from your point of view. Second of all, it's going to look good for you. Third of all, they can put a link through to you on your website. They can, they're going to promote it at the event. They're going to make you an official sponsor on the banner or whatever it may be. Would you be able to help? Now, a lot of the big businesses out there, they're looking for tax write-offs anyway, right? They're looking for something like this. The amount of times, just by sending an email out to like 100 different email addresses, that we've had 2 or 3 companies come back and saying, yeah, we'll sponsor it, no problem. How much is it? And we just tell them our fee. Oh, it's whatever. Yeah, we'll sponsor it, no problem. Put us in touch. So now we look awesome for the charity. The charity love us because they're effectively getting us for free. They've also now got their name associated with another company who's a really big company that are sponsoring it for them. The company are happy with us because they've got press. They've got free press. They look good because they're helping out a charity. There is literally no doubt. And we get paid what we want to get paid. There is literally no downside. And the other thing that we do is we ask the charity, we say, by the way, if you do this, you're going to have to, they're going to have to be in a sponsor. They're going to pay us. We're going to invoice them, but we'll come up and we'll come to your event. And we ask them to put a link on their website through to our website. Now, I'm not going to get too much into SEO right now, but one of the ways that you build up your SEO or your search engine optimization is by having as many links inbound as you can. One-way link. So it's not a reciprocal link, a one-way link. This is, the amount of charities that put a link through to our website because we've helped them organize this whole thing, there's literally no downside. So next time you get a charity inquiry, rather than turning around and going, well, no, we're not going to do it for free. Use this as an opportunity. Just have one pre-written email, fill in the details about the charity and the charity number and everything. Just send it out to your clients. What's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is nobody comes back and you can't help. And you've spent 2 minutes sending an email. Oh, well, not a problem. Out of the 30 or 40 times that we've done this so far since COVID, I think there's only been 2 or 3 times where nobody's come back. And that's normally because it's been a last minute thing. So it's a total win. I don't know if you guys have ever thought about doing that before, but it's a great way. And even like we're contacting our companies, but there's no reason why you can't, if you're networking, for example, and you get a charity inquiry, there's no reason why you can't stand up at your local networking event and go, hey, so my name's Craig. As you know, I run a company called Slightly Unusual. So we've just been approached by this charity, and they're a registered charity. They're running this big event. They're getting, they're wanting to raise as much money as possible for this, and they're wanting to look for a sponsor so that they can have magic at their event. Now we've discounted our rate down, but they're looking for a somebody that will come in and sponsor that side of the entertainment. If somebody can help me, please let me know. Blah 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 blah. And somebody in the room might come and help you, and it's a way of building up a relationship with those people in that room. So I don't know if you've ever thought about doing that before, but it's a really great way of generating more gigs without having to do anything other than sending one email every time you get a charity inquiry. So there you go. That's another one. What else have I got here? Okay, so this is one that I talked about a couple of years ago, so you might not remember this, but it's absolutely worth me mentioning because it's a creative way to get gigs. I don't really use business cards, especially when I'm in close-up events or restaurants or anything like that. I tend not to use business cards. If somebody wants one, I'll give one out. But I tend not to use business cards, and I'll tell you why, right? This is my reason. If somebody asks you for a business card, let's say you're doing a restaurant, or let's say you're doing a corporate event, or whatever it may be, and you've just performed to a group of people, and they say, wow, that's really good. Can I have a business card? Generally, as a rule, there are exceptions, but generally, as a rule, they're probably asking for a business card because they have an event in mind. Not many people ask for a business card just because they want your business card. It can happen. I'm not going to say it won't happen, but a big percentage of the time, it's because they've got an event in mind. Now, here's what happens when you give somebody a business card and they've got an event in 6 months' time. You're giving them the business card, bearing in mind it's this corporate event and everyone's getting drunk on the free bar. They put it in their pocket or in their wallet, and then it's their suit that they wear for these sort of events. So probably when they get home, they hang it up. And then they get back to it about 2 or 3 weeks later, and their partner wants to send it to the dry cleaner. So they empty all of the pockets out and they find this stuff and they go, oh, it's rubbish, put it in the bin. And then in 3 or 4 months' time, when they're planning that event and they need the entertainment, they go, oh, we met that magician. Can you remember his name? And I will just Google somebody. And then they'll Google someone and they'll find me because I spend a fortune on SEO. So, thank you very much for giving someone a business card. I appreciate the booking. Thank you. The better way of dealing with this is when somebody asks for a business card, you simply ask them one question. Absolutely, I can give you a business card. Have you got an event in mind? And if they say no, just give them a business card. If they say yes, you go, all right, what's the event? Oh, it's my daughter's wedding. All right, when's that? Oh, it's in November. Oh, 2 or 3 months' time. Do you know the date? Yeah, I do. It's the blah, blah, blah of November. Well, to be honest, that's coming up really soon. I'm probably not going to be available. Would you like me to quickly check that date for you? Yeah? Okay, let me have a look. Ooh, it's looking really busy. Yeah, what time? Yeah, I think I could do that for you. Yeah, I'm surprised I'm not booked already, but I think I could do that for you. I tell you what, I haven't got really time to speak to you about it right now because obviously I've got to get around and do magic to people. But I'll give you a business card. But can I take your phone number? And I'll give you a call in a couple of days' time and I'll talk you through what I do. And I'll give you a quote. Would that be okay? Yeah, give me a phone number and I'll give you a call in a couple of days. Now what you have is what we call in sales a warm lead. Because what's happened is now you've got the phone number and the name and the date and the time and probably the address or the venue or the area of an event where this person now is considering having magic because they've seen you at an event. This is the easiest sales call in the world. You just have to ring them up, remind them how fucking awesome you are, give them a quote, and take the booking. Compare that to giving them a business card where they might get back to you, they might not. It very much depends. You don't want to put the power in their hands. You want to put the power in your hands. Any salesperson will tell you that the best way to do sales is by having as many leads as possible and make those leads as warm as you possibly can. Well, the best way to get a warm lead is simply by asking if you can give them a call. And if they go, no, I'd rather you don't call me, they're probably not going to book you anyway, and they're being polite. In which case, just give them a business card and say, okay, no problem. Thanks very much. Call me if you're interested. Here's my card. But I can't tell you the amount of times that I've had that conversation with people, and I've called them a couple of days later and I've booked them in. And they probably wouldn't have booked me, because let's be honest, any pros here, anybody who's ever booked a gig in their life, how many times have you been told that you're going to get a phone call about something and then it never happens, right? They just forget. It's not that they're being mean sometimes, they just forget. So when it comes to business cards, make sure that the power is in your hands, not in their hands. That's very, very important. The other thing with regards to close-up events, and I've talked about this as well briefly a couple of years ago, but I'll mention it again now because it is definitely a creative way of getting gigs. How many times have we been asked at events, can you teach me how to do a trick? It happens all the time, right? Can you teach me how to do a trick? Yeah. So let me ask you a question, Ian. You nodded. When somebody says to you, can you teach me how to do a trick? What do you say?
Usually no. Well, it's different because the timing's usually rubbish. So
It is. It is. See, normally no, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I do. I use that as a chance to capture their information and keep myself in their mind. Let me explain. If somebody says, can you teach me a trick? Here's what I do. So first of all, this is not going to take any money. This is only going to take time. What you're going to do is you're going to get somebody to hold an iPhone for you, and you are going to film 6 videos of you performing a trick to camera and teaching how that trick works. Don't make it very long. Don't make it a Craig Petty tutorial. We're talking like 5-6 minutes at the absolute most, 5-6-7 minutes. Teach a trick and also make it really simple, public domain, nothing difficult. I'm talking jumping rubber bands, the cross-cut force, something like that. Teach them, do 6 videos. Then take those videos and put them on YouTube as unlisted videos. Okay? When you've done that, I use a thing called Infusionsoft, but if you want a free way of doing this, register for a piece of software called MailChimp, which is free to use initially, okay, until you've got a bunch of people in it. Register for a piece of software called MailChimp. In MailChimp, you can do simple automation. It's very, very easy to use. So what you're going to do when you get MailChimp, you're going to set up what we call a campaign. And the campaign works with timers. So you can have an email, you can create an email, and then you can create a timer and an email and a timer and an email and a timer. It happens automatically. So what you're going to do is inside MailChimp, you're going to create an email. And the email is very simply going to say, hi, and you're going to put in a merge tag. A merge tag is where you take information from a contact form and fill it in there automatically, which is going to be first name. So you're going to say, hi, first name, in this case, hi, Ian. And then it's going to say, great meeting you at the event. I hope you enjoyed my magic. As promised, I have included a link below to me teaching how to do a really simple trick. All you have to do is click on the link and learn it, and you can show your friends and family. I hope you enjoy the trick. Then a link. And then at the bottom, it's very important with any piece of information you send to anybody, you include a call to action. At the bottom, you simply put, thanks very much. By the way, if you would like to speak to me about doing magic at your events, please let me know. I would love to help. Thanks, Craig. That's all it needs to be. And you put the link into the first video that you recorded on YouTube. Then you put a 2-month timer. So nothing happens for 2 months. So when they get that email, they go into a 2-month timer. Then you have a second email that goes through. And the second email says, hey, I sent you a video a couple of months ago about how to actually do a magic trick. I'm just about to send you, I've just filmed another one for you. And so here's your second one. This is an amazing trick with a rubber band. Remember, don't tell anyone how it works. Here's the link. By the way, if you would like to have a magician for your event, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to help. There's your call to action. You do 6 of those with a 2-month timer in between each one. And then at the bottom of all of that, you just create a contact form, which simply is only going to be used by you. You know the contact form that you have on your website? MailChimp can create a custom contact form, and all it's going to have on there is a name, email address, first name, last name, email address. That's it. And that is going to be on your phone. It's going to live on your phone. So now, when you go to an event and somebody says, can you teach me a trick? You say, I get that question all of the time. Unfortunately, I haven't got time. I've got to do magic here at the moment. However, if you can just click, put in your name and email address onto this form, I will make sure that tomorrow morning you get sent an email, and it'll be a video teaching you how to do a really simple trick that you can use to show your friends and family. They then just put their name and their email address in there. When they fill the contact form in, there's a timer that's set till 9 o'clock the following morning. It's all very simple to do. I can very easily do a course on MailChimp if you want me to keep it nice and simple. I can do a course on MailChimp. We can do one of these VMCs on MailChimp, but you do a timer. So then what will happen is anybody you see that evening at that gig, 9 o'clock the following morning, they're going to get that first email saying, great to see you at the event. Here's the link to the video. By the way, if you need a magician, give me a call. And then 2 months later, they're going to get another video. 2 months later, they're going to get another video. 2 months later, they're going to get another video. 2 months later, they're going to get 6 videos over the course of the year. Now, statistically, those people that you met at an event, is there a chance that at some point they are going to be needing a magician in the next year, or they're going to meet somebody who needs a magician in the next year? And if they do either need a magician or they meet somebody, do you think they're going to Google someone random, or do you think they're going to contact the person who keeps sending them really cool videos that they're using to blow their friends' minds away, and you've kept in their mind? Because you know, they meet you 8 months later, they probably don't even remember who you are. No matter how good your magic is, they don't remember who you are. But if you send them a video every couple of months, they not only remember who you are, they remember how awesome you are. You've kept in touch with them. You've shown them videos. So when they meet somebody that needs a magician, or they need a magician themselves, they're just going to hit reply to one of those videos, and they're just going to reply to you. Will everyone do it? No, but will a big percentage of people do it? Yes. Is it a way of generating leads for free without spending any extra money? Absolutely. Once you've set this up, and it takes probably about 3 hours to set it up if you've never done it before. Literally all you have to do is when you get to an event and you meet somebody, yeah, just put your name in there, put your email address in. I'll send you the video 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Done. Done, 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 done. And all you're doing is, imagine this is a marketing funnel, and all of the leads get dropped in here, and over the course of the pitching, whatever, at the end, these are the bookings. The key thing is to put as many leads into there as possible. Somebody like Chris will tell you that. You want as many leads as possible. More leads equals more sales, more bookings, right? So all you're doing is you're going to an event and you're meeting 6 or 7 people, 10 people. I even say to them, would you like to learn how to do a trick before I leave? Would you like to learn how to do a trick? Stick your email address in there. Boom. You're just getting more people that are potentially going to be then booking you down the line, and you've not had to do anything to it. You've not had to spend any money. You're actually now leveraging a gig that you've gone to your advantage. Does that make sense?
Brilliant. Yeah, love that.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Brandon's put his hand up. Hey, Brandon.
Hello. A little addition to that, if you're gonna break this up into these big chunks, you might even have like a 10-second opener before you do the trick of just you getting great reactions in different types of venues. So it's like you could just break up your natural trailer anyway, you know, your 2-minute trailer, and just take it in 20-second clips. So before, you know, it has your name, your logo, you at a wedding, you at these different venues. So not only they're also getting advertised to right
Yep.
before they get into the trick, and it's only 20 seconds. But if you do that 6 different times, they've seen a minute and a half or so, or 2 minutes of you performing in these different venues just broken up.
Yeah, and if you don't know how if you haven't got any way of doing that, if you're not a video editor or anything, or you haven't got a show reel, just get some people filming your reactions from events and send it to somebody on Fiverr, and pay them $20 or $30, and they'll do a 20-second teaser for you, a 20-second stinger at the beginning of a video. Good call, Brandon. And yes, you're right, William. Canva is very easy to use. I tend to use Final Cut Pro. The free one on Apple is good as well. Canva's good. It's very easy to do video editing. It's not a difficult thing to do. Yeah. Any questions on that one? No. Really good advice there, Brandon. 100%. Has this been good? Has this been, you guys go? Okay, great. William, I know I'm meant to be with you at 11:15. Can we push it back 15 minutes just so I can wrap this up? Is that okay? Good. I've got a one-to-one with William later. I want to mention one more thing for you as well. And I've talked about this in the past, but the amount of people that haven't done this is insane. So I want to talk to you about this because this is something that you should do, and it's free. Who's ever heard me talk about a wedding savings guide? No, it's kind of been lost in the shuffle. A couple of people. So for those of you that don't know, this is one of the best things that I ever did. And I say wedding savings guide, but you can put it into anywhere, into anything. It doesn't just have to be weddings. It can be any industry. So the whole idea behind this is, and it came about for me, probably, I tell you what, God, shit. I remember putting my first wedding savings guide together when I was working the ships, and Ryland was like 1 year old. So it was probably about 2013, something like that. Because I remember taking an iPad with me and designing this whole thing on a 2-week show. I was on the ship for 2 weeks, and I just literally came off the ship 2 weeks later, and I built this whole thing, this whole 40-page wedding savings guide. Could have had fuck all else to do. So it was a long time ago when I first started doing this, and it came as a result of basically what I wanted: a lead magnet for my website. I'm not going to get too much into lead magnets right now. That can be a title for a future video. But basically, a lead magnet is a free thing that you put on your website that's designed to get leads. So it's something that's got a monetary value, a high monetary value, but costs you nothing to produce. So you'll see sometimes, if you've ever been on a marketeer's website, you might see download our 10 proven hacks to skyrocket your social media. Normal price $50, but today fill in the form and you get it for free. That's a lead magnet. I wanted a lead magnet, and I remember thinking, what sort of lead magnet can you give to somebody wanting a magician? Like, what? Click here to learn a magic trick. Nobody gives a crap. They're on the website because they want to book a magician, not learn a magic trick. It's ridiculous. How am I going to do this? And I was thinking, what could I? And it came about as a result of trying to come up with a lead magnet, and it works as a lead magnet, but it has so many other advantages as well. So what it is basically is I reached out, and I do this every couple of years now. I update it every couple of years, but I reached out to all of my weddings, all of the wedding suppliers in my local area. I reached out to them. So florists, people who teach you how to do the first dance, DJs, catering companies, venues, photographers, event planners, wedding planners, anybody who had anything, singers, caricaturists, anybody who had anything to do with weddings and supplying events at weddings, or supplying anything at weddings. I reached out to them and I said, hey, I run a company called Slightly Unusual. I get a lot of inquiries, and a lot of the time when people book me, they want me to suggest other companies for other stuff that they're planning for their wedding. So what I want to do is send out to my clients a wedding savings guide with recommended suppliers that I personally recommend. I'm reaching out to you because I've seen you at an event, or I've seen you at a wedding fair. A lot of my clients have said they've had a good experience with you. That's good enough for me. I would like you to be in my wedding savings guide. I'm only having one photographer, and I would like it to be you. It doesn't cost you anything to be in this wedding savings guide. It's something I'm supplying to my clients. It's free for you to do it. I'll design it for you. I'll do everything. You don't need to do a thing. All I would like you to do is offer a discount for anybody that approaches you as a result of finding you through this wedding savings guide. Now, put yourself in the mind of a photographer, for example, that wants more wedding work. If you had a phone call from a magician and said, "Hey, I'm a successful magician. I want to supply my clients with more wedding, your details. It's not going to cost you a penny. It's going to lead to more work for you." What would you think they say? And you're going to be the only photographer in there. Of course they're going to say yes. It's a no-brainer. Why would they say no? Why would they say no? They wouldn't. Of course they're going to say yes. So they say yes. And then what happens is you get a bunch of these people together and you have them send you ad copy, and you have them send you photos and contact details and all of that stuff. And then what you do is you use that to design a wedding savings guide, and you make sure they give you a discount code that your clients can use to get a discount for their services. And the discount can vary regardless. It can be 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever they want. So now you design this wedding savings guide, and the first page is like all really prettily designed, and then the next page is an introduction as to who Slightly Unusual is and what you are and what you can offer. But then every page in there is about a different client, about a different supplier. And you put it together and you make it look really nice, and it'll take you a little while to do that. It'll take you maybe a month or two. It did me. Well, I did it in 2 weeks because obviously I was on the ship, but if I'd have done it over the course of a normal period of time, it would have been a couple of months. But now there's a lot of stuff that this does. So first of all, you can use it if you want to as a lead magnet. So you can put it on your website, and on the wedding page, you can put, "Hey, would you like a free wedding savings guide valued at 10,000, I put value at £10,000 or something like that, because I added up all of the discounts. Would you like a wedding savings guide valued for £10,000? Hey, just fill in this form and I'll get it sent over to you. Thank you very much." And it worked, and using it as a lead magnet works a little bit like the video that you send out to people. What happens is you get their details, and now you have them, and you can follow up with them and say, "Hey, did you enjoy the wedding savings guide? Have you considered using Slightly Unusual, blah, 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 blah." The other thing that you can do is you can have it as an actual thing on your contact form. So you can have a contact form on your website. If you don't want to have it as a lead magnet, you can have it as a contact form saying, "Click here, fill in this form for a quote from Slightly Unusual, and we'll send you our wedding savings guide free of charge as well." So you can have it emailed to anybody that fills in the contact form, and then they get the quote, and then they get the wedding savings guide. We saved it as a PDF and send it to them as an attachment. The other thing is, if you do wedding fairs, I've got a printed out version, so that at a wedding fair, people can look through this printed out version and they can look at it, and I go, "Hey, would you like a copy of that? All you have to do is give me your details, and I'll send you an electronic copy of that out." There's like £10,000 worth of savings. So now every single person at that wedding fair wants to give you their details, which, if you've ever done a wedding fair, the hardest thing is getting their details. And it's just really difficult. What's your reason to get their details? If they're not going to book there and then, why can you get their details? Well, this is a reason to get their details, right? But the other thing it does, right, is if you send this out to everybody, and we do, we've got various different pieces of automation where this goes out to people. What's going to happen is, and this is the biggest thing, and I never thought about this when I put this together, but this is a big thing. You're going to send this out to people, And then what's going to happen is it's going out to people that are planning a wedding, and they're in the area in which you're sending this out to, and they are looking for the people in that book. So now they're contacting them, and they're saying to them, hey, you're a photographer? I got your details from Slightly Unusual. I've got this discount code. Now, this goes back to what we talked about right at the very beginning, which is giver's gain. If you're a photographer, let's put ourselves in the mindset of this photographer again. You've given your details over to this crazy magician who's set up this wedding savings guide. And now 3 or 4 months later, you're getting a regular supply of people contacting you saying, hey, I want to use your services. And they know that it's come from you because it's the discount code that you gave Slightly Unusual. They're going to use the discount code. Why would they not? They're going to because they want that discount. So now this photographer's thinking, well, hang on a minute. I've just had 10 inquiries in the last month. I better find some fucking people that need a magician and send them back that way, else he's going to find a different photographer. So now this wedding savings guide, as well as making you look good, as well as being a really cool lead magnet, as well as being a really cool way of making you look bigger than you actually are, it's also making you look like a superstar to all these wedding suppliers who are now going to want to reciprocate because they don't want to stop this level of gigs that have gone over to them. I've even had people that have downloaded this wedding savings guide that didn't book me, but they booked like 4 or 5 people from the guide that they downloaded. I don't care, because it's making those people that they've booked really want to supply people, supply lead. Because here's the thing, it's easy to get inquiries and leads when you're networking with somebody. You've built up that relationship and you've got that giver's gain thing going and you've got that know, like, and trust. But if it's just a wedding supplier that you've worked with at a gig a couple of times and you've met a photographer a couple of times, what's their incentive to say to every single one of their clients, hey, have you considered having a magician? Because you should speak to Slightly Unusual. They're not going to do that. What's their incentive? They have no incentive. But if their incentive is that you're sending a ton of work their way, why would they not want to do that? Because all of a sudden now they're like, shit, I need to, they're going to be asking everybody if they need a magician. And statistically, if they do, they're going to say yes. But it's not just a photographer, it's everybody in that book. So now you're generating a massive generation of inquiries that are coming through to you, and you've not had to pay a penny. You've just had to sit there and make this wedding savings guide. So it makes you look good. It makes you look bigger than you actually are. It gives you a lead magnet. It really helps with wedding fairs. It really helps in so many different ways, but also it's really helping you build relationships with wedding suppliers all over your local area. And just really helping with them reciprocating gigs your way. So it takes time and effort to put that together, but it works really well. And then you can do the same thing with corporate events. You can do the same thing with private parties. If you're a kids magician, you can do the same thing with kids parties. So many different ways that you can use this. But we've got a couple of questions. So, William, what you got? I can't hear you. Still muted, buddy.
Sorry about that. Hit the wrong button. A quick question about this. Do you keep it exclusive to one industry, or do you have, for example, 3 photographers or 3 videographers?
I have 2 of each.
Okay.
So I keep it to just 2, and I tell people I have just 2.
Okay, very good.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I try to keep them as different as I possibly can. But the other thing that's interesting is you wouldn't know how, until you start looking into it. It's insane the amount of wedding. Sarah's just sent me a text saying, "Are you still on the VMC? Don't forget about William." I'm like, Sarah, he's here with me. What was I saying? Yeah, it's amazing how many wedding suppliers there are. And before you look into them, like there's so many wedding suppliers. I've got in my wedding savings guide people that supply owls, because apparently owls are a big thing at weddings. Who knew? I've got people that supply doves that get let off when the wedding finishes. I've got firework suppliers. I've got Wedioki. Have you heard of Wedioki before? I've never heard of Wedioki. Wedioki is a thing. Wedioki is you get a videographer, and this videographer goes around the wedding all day. First of all, the bride and groom pick which track that they want to do. let's say it's Uptown Funk. This videographer goes around all day around the wedding, catching groups of people with a big freaking speaker, puts on different parts of Uptown Funk and gets them to do the dance to Uptown Funk, and then keeps doing it all day, and then edits all of that footage into one 4.5 minute video. And it's basically a music video to the bride and groom's chosen track of all of their guests doing the and it's cool. It's so sad, but at the same time the brides and grooms love it because they have this thing of all of their guests like doing this music dance at the end. It's really funny. There's so many wedding suppliers, so you can have so many in the book, and it just makes you look so good because they look through this book and they're like, well, I didn't think of an owl, I didn't think of having an owl. I've got a company that supplies lookalikes of Doctor Who. Not all lookalikes, just lookalikes from the TV show Doctor Who. Because apparently it's a big thing in the UK to have like Doctor Who themed weddings. Who knew? I knew. I got hired about a couple of years ago off the back of this. They sent me an inquiry because they were in my wedding savings guide. This Doctor Who likeness company sent me an inquiry. They wanted this bride and groom wanted an illusion show of for their wedding, and they wanted the bride and groom to appear in a TARDIS as part of the show. Not a problem. We made a custom-made illusion that looked like a TARDIS. Still got in my warehouse. It's so fucking cool. That like just because that, and that came from this wedding savings guide. So there's so many different. You can have so many in there. Is what I'm saying, William. It's a really cool idea. Chris, you got a question as well.
Yeah, I just want to say, first off, this is one of my favorite VMCs in a while that is non-magic oriented. This is great stuff, by the way. One of the hidden things I just wanted to say about the wedding guide that I like about it so much is from a strategic standpoint, when Kim and I got married, we got married at there's a winery here in North Georgia. And when we went to survey the place and they give you the tour and all that, they tell you, and they give you a little guide of their own of a couple of folks to call, a couple of photographers, a couple of flower people, the whole 9 yards, right? But what I see about this is so brilliant is the guide we got from Chateau Elan is attached to Chateau Elan. This is a guide that would ripple through the entire Atlanta area that's about 100 miles in diameter and the circumference around that, which I'm not in math, so I don't know what that is, but it's a lot of miles.
Yeah.
And so if you were to start handing this out as a downloadable and start to show people, now you're literally networking with a citywide or a statewide amount of vendors, and you actually control the narrative and the contacts, not the location, which I think is critical. So that would allow you to go ahead and blossom into other industries by accident, or them being able to, see, hey, we needed flowers. Who did we get for the wedding thing? Go grab that guy, because they know those guys are all over the place now. Yep. And I think that's a huge advantage to the way you did this, but that's all I had. That was awesome.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks. It works really well. And I don't know how many people are actually going to do it, but if you do it, it just takes a bit of time. And you can do it for whatever area. Like I know, Jeremy, for example, your client base is very upmarket, like, CEOs and people like that. But there are going to be suppliers that supply to that sort of industry. I know you're doing a lot of stuff with breweries, and you could absolutely make it work for your thing as well. Everybody could. It just takes a little bit of time and thought about it. Ian.
Yeah, all I was going to say is I agree with Chris. It's been brilliant tonight, actually, Craig. And even if I don't do it myself, my other half is a jeweler, and so she does a lot of wedding fairs, and
perfect for her.
She's got nothing like this, and this would be amazing, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to talk to her about it. But I think, yeah, what a brilliant idea. So yeah, it's been brilliant. Thank you. That's all I want.
Thanks, man. Well, look, I've always been a bit reluctant to do VMCs on business because a lot of the time people just want to know about tricks, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love tricks. That, you know, we're magicians, right? There's never enough tricks. There's never, ever, ever going to be enough tricks. But I'd like to do more of these, like one a month, more VMCs to do with business and to do with quirky subjects that people don't talk about. If you guys would be up for that, if that's kind of an interesting thing for you guys to see, brilliant. Okay, well, I'll start scheduling a business one every month. And the other thing that we can do is I can get some special guests in as well. I can get people like Brad Burton, who's he could probably come in and do it for me. Ian Dixon. So Brad Burton is the UK's #1 motivational business speaker. He's my mentor. To put it into context as to who Ian Dixon is Brad Burton's business mentor. So you can only imagine how much stuff Ian knows. Cross Crossley, who is an incredible mindset technician. Zoe Bennett, who is probably the world's leading expert when it comes to networking. She calls herself the networking queen, and she really is. Yeah, there's all of these people that I could bring in and kind of have part of a Q&A. If you guys would be up for it. I've tried to do interviews with these people on Magic TV, and nobody cares. The views are always down in the toilet because nobody really cares on Magic TV about anything else other than tricks and me shouting about various different people in the Magic community. But if you guys would be more interested in that, I can definitely start making that happen as of about next month. Awesome. I'll reach out to one of those guys and see if they'll do something next month. I'll speak to them. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you've enjoyed it. I'll make sure that Jack gets this. It's Bank Holiday Monday over here at the moment, or it will be tomorrow. So Jack's not in. Apparently, we're supposed to give him a day off on a Bank Holiday Monday. Who knew? It's ridiculous, but you know, apparently it's the law. But he'll be in on Tuesday, so I can get him to get this up on Tuesday. But yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I've got to go because in 40 minutes ago, I was meant to meet up with Gwilliam. So, you know, luckily he's on here, so he should be okay with it. But Gwilliam, I'll be on with you in about 5 minutes. I'm going to make myself a coffee and I'll jump on with you. But guys, I'm really glad you've enjoyed this. I'll come up with another really cool business one next month. I'll try and get one of my business mentors to come on and we'll do a Q&A session with them as well. But I think there's one more this month, isn't there? Is there one more VMC this month? I think there is.
Yeah, it is. Next.
Oh,
Friday.
guys, you want to come to the oil and water one? I love oil and water. I know a lot of people hate it, but I've got so many really awesome concepts with oil and water, and I've not talked about many of them. And I'm gonna be spilling the beans on oil and water.
Can you do it with one hand, Craig?
Yeah. I can do it with one hand.
How about the oil and water?
Yeah, well, that as well. Yes, that as well. And for those of you that, like a few months ago, I was showing you my toys. Do you remember the toys trick with the catalogue? Just so you know, I'm doing a live launch with Alpha Sam at the beginning of September, and that's going to be that. So I'm very excited about that. Really excited. But thank you for joining me. You're all brilliant. Love you all. Have an amazing weekend. If you're in the UK, have a great bank holiday Monday. And I'll see you all soon. And Gwilliam, I'll be with you in about 3 or 4 minutes. And Brandon, I'll call you tomorrow, but I'm going to reschedule you for maybe tomorrow or the day after, if that's okay, whenever you're free. But I'll call you in the morning. Awesome. Take care, guys. See you soon. So there you go, guys. Thanks very much for watching that. So that's another video in the bag. If you do want to join the Netrix, you can try it out for a month, see what all the fuss is about. It's a rolling contract, so you can cancel any time. Although, in all honesty with you, I think there's something like a 0.05% cancellation rate. Very few people cancel because it's the best deal in Magic, and we're just constantly uploading more tricks. A lot of the stuff that you see on my projects, it starts off life within the Netrix. Because that's where I kind of put a lot of my stuff. Anyway, you want to join the Netrix, you go to www.thenetrix.com. You can go and get access immediately and see what all the fuss is about. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. This is a really good video tomorrow, so look out for that. And the Ovation to Innovation Rymentary will be back next week. Unfortunately, we've had to hold off for a week because Ryland's here with me in Wales, and therefore we're unable to film one of the Ovation to Innovations. That'll be back next week. But thanks very much for watching. I really appreciate it. You want to see more videos like this? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.